Joining me now is my old friend Jeff Duncan of the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. And Jeff, let's talk about Cam Cameron, what this guy brings to the table in Baton Rouge, and how can he help Mettenberger and the LSU offense be a little bit less predictable than they have been the last couple of years?
Well, Fred, obviously he comes with an NFL pedigree. He's coached in the NFL, coached a lot of great quarterbacks, coached Drew Brees, among others, Joe Flacco. So I think what he's going to do is make the offense more quarterback friendly for Zach Mettenberger. When you watched LSU play the past couple of years, it just seemed like they were running a rudimentary offensive package. There would be 2 receivers out in the package, the most 3 receivers. He didn't have enough options. And I actually think Zach Mettenberger is a big-time talent. He's got to grow and maybe mature a little bit off the field, but he's got the ability, he's got the arm to make all the NFL throws. But that system he was in under Greg Stradawa and Steve Cragthorpe just was not very quarterback friendly, and as a result, he struggled. His completion percentage was way down. When you watch the New Orleans Saints play, it's the exact opposite. Drew Brees has always got 3, 4 options at all different levels of the field. He can go deep, he can hit the intermediate route, he's got the check down to Darren Sproles. You never see that with that system that they ran at LSU. I think Cam Cameron's going to make life a lot easier for Zach Mettenberger.
So more quarterback friendly, but that being said, do you see this offense undergoing a major change, or will it be small things along the way?
Well, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't know how much Les Miles is going to continue to be involved. That's always been the criticism, is that he's too involved and too much influence and always had his hand in the cookie jar, if you will. I don't know if he'll do that now with Cam Cameron, a guy that he's friends with, that may have come here with the understanding that this would be his offense. I hope Les Miles does that and leaves Cam Cameron alone and lets him run this really NFL-style offense that I think he's going to bring there. If he does that and just manages the game and becomes the head coach during the game, I think this offense can take off. But if Les Miles continues to oversee things, I think it's going to continue to be a mess on offense.
And you mentioned before that Cameron has that NFL resume with the Baltimore Ravens, the offensive coordinator there, let go by John Harbaugh. Jimmy Caldwell came in. Yet and still, this guy, Cameron, has a resplendent resume.
Right. He's worked with some top people in the NFL. The reason he keeps getting hired, because he has a great reputation. Now, there's obviously some concern with how he handles some things in the past. But I think for what LSU needs, they've got such great talent on offense. They just need somebody to bring in a more sophisticated system. And I think that's what Cam Cameron brings to the table. He's always been recognized as a great offensive mind, but he's a guy that I think struggled in head coaching roles. He struggled in Miami when he got the Dolphins job. He struggled at the University of Indiana. I think he's a coordinator, and that's exactly what LSU needs. And they just, like I said, they just need somebody to open up that passing game and make it a little more sophisticated. These SEC defenses right now are the best in the country, and you've got to really have a sophisticated attack. And what the LSU's been running out there has not been sophisticated enough, I think, to compete at that level. And they can beat those middle of the road or lower level teams with what they've got because they're so much more talented. But when they get on the field against Alabamas and the Texas A&Ms, they need something a little more sophisticated.
And then you got the Michigan tie-in, of course, between he and Les, both Schembechler back in the day, the whole thing. And Schembechler was a guy who was very, very stubborn, but he noted that at times you have to change. It can't be a 3 yards cloud of dust kind of thing.
Not in this day and age anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it all across the country. There's the spread option attacks that are all from the West Coast, and it's even having influence now in the SEC. We see with Texas A&M. LSU has to become more sophisticated in the downfield passing game. I think that was always a struggle for Zach Mettenberger. There were so low percentage the passes he was trying to complete. Now if he's got, like I said, a check down receiver, use the tight ends more. They never threw to the tight ends last year. They just have to give him more options, and I think that's going to make it life tougher on defense. They've got such a good defensive package with John Chavis. They need to get that same level of sophistication on offense.
And that's going to help them with recruiting as well down the line offensively, right?
Well, Fred, they haven't had a really bona fide starting NFL quarterback since Burt Jones. I mean, Jamarcus Russell came in for 2 years, and that was about it. He flamed out. You have Matt Flynn, Matt Mock, other guys that have been drafted, but they've not been able to attract high caliber quarterback prospects because of the system they're running. I think with Cam Cameron there, they get a better prospect.
All right, let's talk about the combines. They're coming up this week in Indianapolis. In your mind, who are the gems out there? And As far as the Saints are concerned, what are they looking to come out of there with, if possible, on draft day?
Well, I think this is a huge year for the Saints in the draft. I think they've got a hit on this first-round pick. We've seen them invest a lot of high draft picks in defensive talent over the last few years. They haven't hit on any of them really yet in the high rounds. I think there's some guys that have some potential. Cameron Jordan, for instance, Malcolm Jenkins. I still think he's a top talent, but they need to get a difference maker there, and that's hard to find in the middle of the draft. You can hit on it. We saw the Giants hit with Jason Pierre-Paul right about the same level where the Saints are going to be drafting. Clay Matthews Jr. was a low round first round draft pick, but this is a great year for the Saints because it really fits their needs. There's 12 to 15, depending on who you talk to, defensive linemen that should go in the first round, and that's really a crying area of need for the Saints team, especially if they have to make some moves up front with a guy like Will Smith, who's been an anchor up there for years but might be a cap casualty. They need a difference maker there. There's a lot of great defensive tackle talent in this draft. As many as 5 defensive tackles could go in the first 20 picks. And right now, I think it's very doubtful that Cedric Ellis will be back. So there's another glaring hole that they could fill in the draft. But really the way the Saints work, and we've all seen this under Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, they fill in holes in free agency. And a lot's going to happen here in the next few weeks once free agency starts with guys coming and going. And then we'll have a better sense of what direction the Saints might go, because a lot's going to be dictated by who's left.
And I think you're 100% right in that the Saints don't have a second-round draft pick, so it makes that first-round draft pick all the more critical.
Right, and I'd like to see them get aggressive. You know, we've seen them do it in past drafts offensively to move up and get a guy like Mark Ingram. I would like to see them, if they feel like they've got a difference maker there that's 3 or 4 spots ahead of them, I would like to see them go after that guy, because I think that really that's all they really need on defense. They've got plenty of talent over there. Obviously, they brought in Rob Ryan, a guy they think is going to fix things on defense. And we all know, Fred, they don't have to be the old '85 Chicago Bears. They don't have to dominate. They just have to be mid-pack and make a few plays every once in a while in certain situations. And this team can get back in the playoff hunt. And one guy, if you can find one difference maker to come right in on the defensive line or maybe a cornerback that can make a difference, all of a sudden it makes everybody else a lot better up front. And so I would like to see them be aggressive if they can, but they don't have a lot of ammunition, like you said, without a second-round draft pick to maybe make a deal. They don't have that flexibility, but I would like to see them get aggressive like they did with Mark Ingram.
Well, before you head to Indianapolis, do you have a couple of names in your back pocket that you think the Saints may be looking at?
Well, I think it's too early to really target. I think it's even early for them, especially with Sean Payton. He's been working all on the coaching changes right now, just filling out his staff. I think that'll start really materializing over the next few weeks once they get the staff intact and they start stacking their board. But I do think they're going to take the best defender available. I'd be surprised if they took anybody on offense. And I think there's plenty of defensive line talent, like I said, but I also wouldn't rule out them taking somebody in the secondary. They did not play very well on the back end last year. I think other than Jabari Greer, no one had a solid season on the back end. Patrick Robinson really struggled at corner. He's a former first-round draft pick, but I think he really needs to be worried about his job security there. So if a cornerback is available, I think that would be another spot that they could pull the trigger on. Anybody that they can get on defense that makes a difference is going to help this team.
All right, Jeff. We'll be talking as time goes forward. Jeff Duncan from the Times Picayune at NOLA.com.